Hello, I'm back. This time we're talking about Terraform modules. So we talked about registries like Terraform registry, and we saw that it provides providers, and we also saw that it had a button called modules. Like in this video, we'll talk about what is a provider, what is a module. So module, you can think of it as a plugin. It extends the Terraform's functionality. It exposes resources to Terraform. Like Terraform doesn't know AWS instance. You use Terraform AWS provider, and then boom, now Terraform knows what an AWS instance is. Because AWS provider is exposing that information. And then now you can use providers to manage resources, any type of resources. Uh, so resources are very bare bones, right? Let's say you want to create 100 S3 buckets in the same AWS account, and 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 I'm looking at AWS S3 bucket configuration to see, like what it is. So you can see that, like it's using ACL. It has some, like some configuration that you always want to beat there, right? For example, transitioning, expiration, life cycle roles, and whatnot, right? So like all this configuration you want on all of your buckets, right? uh, so if you're creating 100 buckets, you will have to repeat this 100 times, which is not what we want. We are using config as a code has libraries, code has functions. Why can't we bring the same here, right? Like I don't want to repeat, I want to dry my code. So you see that, bucket S3 bucket resource has like this many configuration options. For example, tags. Like tags is a good example of configuration that you want to set, and you want it to be, like almost always same. But some of them, like for example, let's say you want to put tags, something like managed by Terraform environment, your environment, and then owner. Like which service owns this bucket. For example, let's say you have multiple service, or which team you want to put a team tag on your bucket. uh, you'll have to repeat those tags, like in every bucket configuration. And though you can use something called default tags, AWS has a provider level configuration that allows you to set default tags on all this. So let's say you want to set a tag called managed by Terraform. You would set this default tag when you're setting up your Terraform provider, and then all the resources will have that tag. But again, it's just one provider, right? There could be, number of configuration that you want to provide a default, same default, and you want to try your configuration. That's when the modules will, let's say you create a setup. Let's say you want to deploy a website in S3 bucket, a static website. That involves, bunch of things, maybe creating a static IP, creating a DNS record, creating a bucket, setting some uh, rules to allow certain folders to be exposed to public and stuff like that, enabling caching, like uh, bucket category and whatnot. uh, let's say you want to host 100 static websites, you'll have 100 buckets for that. In this example, you don't want to repeat all those 100, like things. Now you can basically create a module that says deploy a website, you give it a bucket name, give it a DNS record, and then it'll do rest of the stuff. uh, you can find modules similar to how you find providers in AWS registry. You can write your own modules, uh, and then you can use those modules in your code, right? So here we see that we are using console module from this, right? Like and when you do Terraform init, it will download those modules for you, similar to how uh, we download providers for you. You can have your own private modules in local folders, and then you can reference those. Like you don't have to public, but there are tons of public modules as well. For example, this EKS module, right? Creating an EKS cluster, it requires bunch of configuration, right? You'll need to create tons of resources. This module simplifies that. You can just give it some inputs, and then it will create uh, EKS cluster for you, and then output whatever information you need. And in the dependency, we can see that it depends on AWS. So this module is actually using AWS provider, and then it's using TLS, it's using Kubernetes, and it's using Cloud so it's using these four providers to build an EKS cluster for you. Uh, and in the example, we'll see that creating an EKS cluster with this is just this much code, right? Like, uh, looks a lot, but it would be a lot more if you go and do it by yourself. You know. So yeah. Uh, Also, make sure that the modules that you are using are, like, pop, like, supported, or like not some random module. Like, you like, they expose the same risk as, any other library that you find in npm. So this one is, for example, is not a verified, right? This is managed by someone else. You can look at the code, because they have a link here, right? Go through the code if you want. So yeah, that's your module.